Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we usually go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today, we've got a very special bonus episode where we're changing things up a bit and we're actually discussing the upcoming Oscars, especially considering Netflix have two original films nominated for Best Picture, The Power of the Dog and Don't Look Up. So I'm Jesse, and as always, I'm here with MJ. Hello.
Hey, Jesse. Yeah, I think I do like the fact that we've got Power of the Dog and Don't Look Up in there, just basically to masquerade for the fact that we want to have a chat about the Oscars, and we have a strictly Netflix podcast, and that's our angle, I guess. But I don't think we're going to be talking about them as much as we're going to be talking about everything else. It's quite liberating in a sense to be able to chat about all these films that aren't on Netflix.
True. It's a very high chance that some of our favorites probably aren't going to be the Netflix ones, but it'll be interesting this year to see how the Academy actually goes, because realistically, the other big Netflix films that we've seen nominated for awards haven't really picked up any of the big awards yet. I guess the biggest one was Roma a couple of years ago that, you know, had the run and had that Alphonse Cuarón behind it. And yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where they
Did he win
win
Best Director though? Did he win Best Director?
Did I even get the right director? I think I got the right director.
Yeah, no, you did. You did. I could be wrong. I feel like he might have won Best Director though. Obviously, didn't win Best Picture, but
yeah. And that's the one that Netflix desperately want. And from what I can gather, like LA, California is blanketed in billboards and posters for Power of the Dog, because Netflix has got that money that they're putting into it, and they're desperate to get one of these awards. But yeah, I don't know whether the Academy are ready to sort of switch directions and go, hey, we're going to reward the streaming service when we're so focused on theatrical releases.
It is so funny. I mean, the amount of conversations I've seen recently about people not wanting particular films to win Best Picture because historically that can really taint that movie. I was reading an interesting thread the other day, people talking about what was the movie that you really enjoyed, and then it won Best Picture, and it sort of became like, oh, that movie wasn't good enough to win Best Picture, so it actually wasn't that good, but it was still a good movie in its own right. And it's funny that it's like, oh, well, if the Academy likes it, it's probably not that good. And that, I feel like Parasite absolutely shattered that myth. And basically since Parasite, we've had these weird COVID years, so it's interesting to see whether that's a full correction or we're going to go back to more of what we wanted to do. But I'm actually excited, because this is the first time you and I have actually had a proper chat about, you know, the Oscars. We sort of chat intermittently here and there, exchange a few texts and whatnot when we see a movie, but to actually talk about it. But B, this is the first year I've actually watched all 10 of the nominated films for Best Picture. I topped it off yesterday. I finished with West Side Story, which is very conveniently just came out on Disney Plus here in Australia, which was nice. But I feel like I'm actually going into the Oscars well armed with my own opinions. And when I see someone win an award for something and I haven't seen the movie, I'm like, well, I can't get annoyed or I can't appreciate. I don't know. So it's nice to be well armed.
Yes, I completely agree. I think I'm exactly the same. This is always try every year. Like I want to try and get to them, and at various stages, it's quite difficult to access some of these films. And there's a couple with some of the acting categories that we'll look at later that it's been difficult to access. And I'm upset that there's some films that I haven't been able to see. But I think this year, especially with your Disney Pluses, with your Netflix, with all your streaming services that have been willing to get this content out rather quick, the turnaround has been crazy fast with a lot of theatrical releases, obviously adapting to the pandemic and how the world's running and how people are accessing films. So it has made it a lot easier this year to see a few of these.
Yeah, it's very true. And look, you've done better than I have with some of it's mainly the best actress category I've noticed is a little bit more obscure with those films. I think I missed a few.
I did a mad rush the last couple of days to
give
myself some context.
Well, you know what? Well, obviously, we want to get to the crux of this whole conversation by talking about the best picture for films. But what I wanted to do was, before we actually get to that, let's go through some of the main categories. Now, we're no experts, so I think it's silly for us to go through things like editing and sound mixing and a few of the more obscure ones that I just don't feel like we well equipped enough to discuss. But some of the main categories, let's chat through not who we think will win, because so often a favorite in the Oscars paying $1.05 often gets up. But who if we had to choose, if we were voting, who would we vote for? But also in every single category, Jesse, I want you to give me at least one that wasn't nominated that you thought, not whether it should have won or should be nominated, but what you thought, you want to give an honorable mention to. So we're going to start with Best Director. So we've got Kenneth Branagh, Belfast, Ryosuke Hamaguchi, Drive My Car, Paul Thomas Anderson, Licorice Pizza, Jane Campion, Power of the Dog, Steven Spielberg, West Side Story. So that's 5 movies we're probably going to talk about a little bit in the rest of the podcast. But out of those, even might not be an easy win for you, but who do you think is the best director this year?
It's a really tough question, because this is one of the ones that I think that I want to go with the favorite, and that is Jane Campion for Power of the Dog. I think that the ability to create such an impactful film during that pandemic, and not only, take the whole cast and crew to New Zealand to make this film, but then have a lockdown in New Zealand, which meant most of the people went back to their separate ways to homes, and then bring them all back again to get this finished, and be able to transfer the New Zealand countryside into what effectively can stand in for Montana in America, as well as some excellent performances. And I hadn't read the book, so I didn't know the story, didn't know the novel, didn't know the twist. And from what I can gather, if you did know the story, you're sort of sitting there waiting for the twist to happen at the end, which is 100% okay if you understand it. But for me, going in cold and seeing what she was able to do, and obviously it's not like, this is where you can discuss auteur theory and be like, the director's the creative control over a film, but with the people that she was able to work with, especially with the sound, the music and some of the editing in this film, I think it's just as an overall package for what we see on the screen, even though, and we talked about films, this might not be my favorite film of the year, I think that she deserves to be acknowledged for what she's done with this film. That would be my take on that one.
Pretty bloody hard to argue that one. And to be honest, I checked this before. I didn't actually know Jane Campion is paying $1.03 to win Best Director. After that, 3 of them are on $21. So that's the gulf between first and second. So she's looking all right for winning the award.
Well, in saying that though, there's been a few controversies. Like, obviously all these directors are on the campaign at the moment, and they did a big table discussion, all 5 of them, the other day for about 2 hours, where they sort of, everyone was bowing down to Spielberg a bit, and she sort of turned the tables a bit. And, she's dealt well with the controversy with some homophobic comments from other actors. And unfortunately, I think recently one of the press conferences, she sort of made some comments in regards to King Richard and the Williams sisters that sort of come across as a little bit racist. So who knows? Like, I think the voting closes in the next 24 hours or so. And if the last minute voters have sort of been offended by that, who knows? But I guess at the end of the day, while the Oscars are becoming a bit more diverse, I think the majority is still middle-aged white men. So I don't know if that's going to impact the voting.
It was a very strange decision for her. I kind of get she wanted to make the point about how difficult it is to be a woman in Hollywood, and she's done it for a very, very long time. So she's well versed to have that opinion. She went about it the wrong way, and I think she probably realized it as soon as those words slipped out of her mouth. But look, everything you say about Jane Campion feels right. I'm personally going to give my vote to Hamaguchi for Drive My Car. And I think his ability to create a 3-hour movie that just felt so entirely in control through every single scene, through every piece of dialogue, it felt like a man who has just created an absolute masterpiece. And he is probably not going to win the Oscar, but from that perspective, for me, that direction was just as close to flawless as I can see. So I'd give him my vote in the year 2021. I know we're 2022 Oscars, the year 2021. It's Ryosuke Hamaguchi for me.
I agree. I think excellent film, and so exceptionally well done, with obviously lots of planning involved in that. And, the ability for, as we saw with Parasite a couple of years ago, the ability to, film can be a universal language. Who cares if there's some subtitles along the bottom? The visuals and the ability to create such an emotional piece and tell such an impactful story over 3 hours, like you mentioned. Excellent job too.
Yeah. So there's 5 brilliant directors in that category. Is there anyone that you were like, oh, man? And it's hard to say that was stiff to miss out, because as I said, they are 5 great directors. But if you could slip one more in, if it was a 6-team category, who would you have chucked in for this year?
That's a real tricky one. I really looking at films that I enjoyed this year that aren't necessarily on the award circuit, I guess. And I'll stick with something that I guess includes some acting categories here. But I think Sorkin with Being the Ricardos, and I only just watched this recently. That piece was, and I know he was nominated last year for the trial of the Chicago Seven. And so I know, sometimes you don't see directors nominated back to back, and I know the critical reception for this was a little bit mediocre, but what he did with that film, and what do they call it, the walk and talk of Aaron Sorkin, where you have the characters that walk across the screen to have a conversation, to dump the plot, and then when they stop, it's when they have those impactful things that they want the audience to focus on, and his ability to do that and tell a story that's a historical piece in such an engaging way was excellent. And I know that's probably a little bit off center and off field, but that's what I'm going with.
No, that makes perfect sense. And I'm going to put my hand up and say Being Ricardos is a gap in my knowledge right now.
Yeah.
And that will come up again in some of these categories. But you certainly piqued my, not that I didn't want to see it. It hasn't been very accessible for us at the moment, but I would like to get around to it.
It's on
Amazon. I'm
going to go, if you need it.
It's on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am going to go with a pretty boring choice because this movie will feature a lot more in our Oscars discussion. But for me, it's Sian Heder, who directed Coda, who actually also directed Tallulah, which we did in our very early days on this podcast. Look, for me, Coda is the sort of story that wouldn't have really jumped off the page when you're reading that screenplay. And for her to navigate that script and give it so much heart and so much feeling and make you care so much about these characters is an absolute credit. And look, if I'm being honest, I don't think she should win the category, but she's my honorable mention to sneak in there. And there'd be so many difficulties as well trying to direct people who are deaf. And there's the majority of your 75% of your main cast in this movie is deaf, and there's challenges there that that just feel like they were seamlessly brushed off. So I think she's done an excellent job and created an excellent film with Coda.
If you're interested in that story, there are lots of good podcasts. If you did a search for on how they worked with the deaf cast and the translators and all the effort that went into making that such a genuine film, really worthwhile. Just doing a little bit of further research to check that out, because I think great film as well. I'm a little bit, I might hold off a little bit, but I'm a little bit concerned. We'll keep going. We
do have things to say about these films. Look, you sent me a list of the categories, and next on that list was Best Actress. So that's the order we're going in, Jesse. Best Actress is a massive gap for me because there's actually only one film of these that I've actually seen, and luckily that this actress was excellent in it, so she gets my vote. But the 5 nominees are Jessica Chastain from The Eyes of Tammy Faye, Olivia Colman, obviously it's Best Actress, so Olivia Colman's got to get a gig in The Lost Daughter, Penelope Cruz, Parallel Mothers, Nicole Kidman, Being the Ricardos, and Kristen Stewart from Twilight, from Spencer. So they are your categories.
You wouldn't be confused if you switched in and watched Spencer and thought you were watching Twilight. So it's the same performance that she gives in everything that she does. Anyway, I got a little bit more context behind this because I have smashed out a few in the last week just to sort of catch up. But this is one of the frustrations. I really wanted to see Parallel Mothers, which Penelope Cruz is in, and I saw a trailer for it when I saw Licorice Pizza at the cinemas. I was like, oh, this looks good, and then obviously started hearing more and more about it. But I haven't had the chance, so I can't give context on that. And the same with The Eyes of Tammy Faye. I think that's only just hit Disney Plus over here in Australia, so I haven't had the chance to watch that one yet. But I think from what I can see, Jessica Chastain is the clear favourite to win this award. But it's hard, and I know you've only got the one actress to look at, Olivia Colman. I think she won the BAFTA for this role, and obviously the BAFTAs are British, so possibly a little bit of bias towards that decision. Nicole Kidman was fantastic in Being the Ricardos, and for me that was probably her best performance in quite a long time. If you can ignore the the fake eyebrows they give her just to make her look a bit like Lucille Ball in Being the Ricardos. Like, she owns that film, as well as obviously Javier Bardem as well in that film. But without her performance, this film doesn't work. And I think it helps in that film of Being the Ricardos that she doesn't need to try and be Lucille Ball in the film. There's a couple of scenes where she plays like they cut to black and white, and she reenacts moments from the show, which she's spot on with her improvisations and interpretations of that character. But it's nice to see Nicole Kidman be able to be a character without needing to worry about trying to mimic that character. And I think she gives her own touch to it really well. So as much as I'd love her to win it, I don't think she will. But I think I'm the only one that you've seen, Olivia Colman. She was fantastic in Lost Daughter. So I wouldn't mind seeing her win that.
Yeah, look, Nicole Kidman is a sneaky $3.50 second favorite. It's certainly, looking at the odds, it's certainly not like it's game over. And I feel like it's flown under the radar a little bit, particularly in Australia. They normally do like to give that a bit of a pump up when we do have a couple of Australians nominated this year. But it's a glowing endorsement for Nicole Kidman. And Being the Ricardos, as I said, is a movie I would like to see. Olivia Colman, as you said, The Lost Daughter was a movie that was one of those movies that I enjoyed. You finish watching and go, that was a good movie, and you really don't want to rush to put it back on. It's, that sort of uncomfortable feeling that you get watching a movie, but a great character study. And that movie doesn't work at all without Olivia Colman. So it would be a fitting result if she did win it. But I'd be hard pressed to talk down about any other roles. So we'll see where that one lands. But
she was fantastic last year in The Father with Anthony Hopkins. Like, thinking back to last year's awards, that stood out to me, her performance in that as well. So it's just nice to see her consistency, and that role is a hard role to play. So much emotion and so much. Especially, and I know the flashbacks in that film aren't played by Olivia Colman, but the performance that she delivers in that, I think she does deserve some recognition there.
I agree. She's like, is she good? Is she bad? She's got to check it past, but she's trying to do the right thing. But there's so many complexities, as you said, that's why you walk away feeling a little bit exhausted watching the film. Who didn't get nominated, Jesse, that you think should have?
This is an interesting one. So, you go first. I want to hear what you're going to think, because I had a lot of issues because, and this may be more to do with my viewing habits, or my other theory is maybe there's not enough great leading roles for women that I've seen. So my vote goes. I've got two people I want to mention. The main one being Alana Haim from Licorice Pizza. I don't think that she should win Best Actress. I thought she was great, and I thought she really helped be the heartbeat of that film. And I thought it was a really good performance. I don't think it's one of those performances that you're going to look back on and go, how amazing was she? But I thought she was really, really good. The other one that I want to mention, and this is me coming out. This is me coming out very personal. It's not the kind of thing that people are going to expect as any sort of Oscar movie, but I don't want to lose sight of the fact that it is my own personal opinion, and I want to make sure that I'm represented on this list. I want to nominate Sadie Sink for Fear Street 1978. Now, I love the Fear Street movies. I thought they were excellent, and I actually thought Sadie Sink was fantastic in that second film. That second film was a lot of fun, being at the basically the summer vacation camp, and she had this energy about her that really carried the film. So it's not a very exciting one, but it was a great movie for me, and Sadie Sink was excellent in it. So that's where I'm at. Good. I'm going to go with a film that got nothing for pretty much all the awards season, and that's The Last Duel, which starred Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Adam Driver. So my person that I think that should have been given some sort of love, that had an amazing performance, was Jodie Comer. She played character Marguerite in The Last Duel, and And anyone that's seen that film knows it's sort of broken into three sections to show the different perspective of the Ben Affleck's character, Matt Damon's character, and her character. And she's that common thread throughout, and a really powerful performance that runs so well with the themes of that the themes of the film that more needs to be done by men. Men need to be better, and she highlights that through her performance and the way that the female gender were treated in the past, but obviously reflecting what's going on in the current time too. So that's my pick.
Good movie. Last Duel.
I really enjoyed The Last Duel. Yeah.
All right, we move on to Best Actor. We got Javier Bardem from Being the Ricardos. We got Benedict Cumberbatch from The Power of the Dog, Andrew Garfield, Tick, Tick, Boom, Will Smith, King Richard, and Denzel Washington, The Tragedy of Macbeth. Some big names there. There
are some very big names. This again, I think, so all of these are films that I've seen, which is good. I think Will Smith's clear favourite. He's been doing the press rounds, he's been pumping it out, and he obviously is campaigning hard for this award. So I think it's going to be hard to go against him. But again, Benedict Cumberbatch was great in Power of the Dog. I think that's sort of maybe released a little bit early, to be in the campaign. So that's probably gone off a little bit for him. For me, as good as Denzel was in The Tragedy of Macbeth, that film, hasn't touched as many bases as it possibly could have. Javier Bardem was good, and Nicole Kidman sort of outshines him in that. So who I'd like to win in this, I'd love Andrew Garfield from Tick, Tick, Boom. I thought his performance in that film held that whole film together. I didn't know that musical before seeing it on Netflix. Didn't have any context behind what was going on, but his singing was good, his dancing was good. He was just a relatable character, and I really enjoyed that.
Mate, I do agree with you there. It's he was electric in that movie, Andrew Garfield, and this is a stacked category. I had a lot of trouble trying to separate Andrew Garfield and Benedict Cumberbatch. In fact, when I watched Tick, Tick, Boom at that time, it was probably my favorite movie of the year, and I was like, Andrew Garfield wins the Oscar. It was as simple as that. And then probably a month later, maybe not even a month later, I watched Power of the Dog, and that was probably my favorite movie of the year. And I thought Benedict Cumberbatch is going to be bloody hard to beat in the Oscar. Now, all the while, this Will Smith talk was happening anyway. I thought Will Smith was good. I don't think his performance is as good as Cumberbatch and Garfield. With that said, I love Will Smith, and it's great to see him win an Oscar, so I'm okay with it. But I'm actually going to slide my vote to Benedict Cumberbatch just by an absolute whisker. I think that character study of his character in Power of the Dog was just absolutely fascinating. Before the twist in that film, which is a brilliant twist, that was a fascinating character study, and that's what I was enjoying so much about the film. Is like, this guy, like this is an old school bully who's got his own issues, trying to sort himself out, trying to figure out where he fits in, masquerading as the toughest man around. It was fascinating, and he did such a good job. So he does get my vote there. But I have to say, my pick for the person who wasn't nominated that should have been, if I had my way, I would have him winning the whole thing.
Good. I'll just add a quick one in, because I know we've been talking quite a lot already, and I know I don't want to bore people, but a bit of an Australian bias here. Just for a little bit of recognition, there's an Australian film that sort of hit a few of the circuits called Nitram, and the performance from Caleb Landry Jones in that was exceptional. That film did not work without him. So just as a little bit of a one in the background there, I think he needs some recognition for the retelling of horrific events in Tasmania and Australia, and an American that comes out to Australia to make a film, and that performance was as much as you want to hate that character, he added a little bit of soul to that character.
Yeah, no, I agree. I wanted to put Caleb Landry Jones as my honourable mention as well, but I couldn't go past Simon Rex. Simon Rex in Red Rocket was the best performance this year, and I don't care what anybody says. That he was incredible in Red Rocket. The movie was great, and I just can't not think that it was to do with how much he smashed it out of the park, especially considering for me, he's just this guy from Scary Movie 3 and 4 who's just like a joke of an actor. He was just exceptional, and I can't wait to watch that movie again. Brilliant. He's just literally picked his career up off the ground.
Yeah, I haven't had the chance to see that yet, but Sean Baker, love his work, especially the Florida Project, which got a couple of nominations a couple of years ago for Willem Dafoe in Best Supporting Actor, I think it was. But yeah, I'm keen to see that. So pumped it up for me. I like it.
Good. So Best Supporting Actress. I have seen all of these, which is nice. Jessie Buckley, Lost Daughter. Ariana DeBose, West Side Story. Judi Dench, Belfast. Kirsten Dunst, The Power of the Dog. Anjanou Ellis, King Richard.
Yeah, as bad as it sounds, this is the category where I find it really hard to separate the performances. Judi Dench plays that role that you see her often play, and it's almost like that she's at that stage of the career where she could be on the screen for 5 minutes and would probably get a nom. And I'm not trying to say that in a negative way, but that's the charisma that she brings to the screen. And Kirsten Dunst was excellent in that film as well, but I'm a bit torn because I know that you're not a massive fan of this film, but I'm going to go with Ariana DeBose from West Side Story because I think she brought lots of heart to that film and a performance that was better than the main character in that film. So that's where I'm going.
She was on reflection, she was probably the scene stealer in most of the big scenes. Sings, dances, does it all. No, it was a great performance from her. She's actually paying $1.08 to win it. Oh, wow. She's pretty hot favourite.
Well,
for me, it's actually.
I was just going to say, especially that scene towards the end of West Side Story where she's in the shop with all the men, and it's just a really impactful scene. So I'm sure that's probably the clip we're going to see at the Oscars.
100%, and that's what stands out. That's her grand final. For me, I was surprised to see that Jessie Buckley is actually the last favourite of these five. And I think this goes hand in hand with what we're talking about with Olivia Colman and that character being so complex. Jessie Buckley's almost got a more difficult job because she has to stay true to a character that we've just spent 45 minutes on screen with already, understanding now this is what she used to be and this is how she became who she was. And again, she just absolutely nails it. She captures the essence of a character, but also the sort of more young, free, a little bit rebellious side of her, without really taking away from the 20-year-older woman that we've been spending most of the time with. And I think it would have been so difficult. And I thought she was excellent. She's a really good actress. Off the back of, I'm thinking of Ending Things and what was it, bloody Chernobyl. Last year, so she's running hot at the moment, Jessie Buckley. So, do you have someone else you'd like to slip into the Best Supporting Actress category, Jessie?
I guess I'll put in here. This is another Being the Ricardos mention. Linda Lavin plays Madeline Pugh on the show. Madeline Pugh's a character from I Love Lucy, and she's got some great moments in this film alongside Nicole Kidman and alongside J.K. Simmons, who we'll probably mention in a couple of moments too. But she adds a lot of heart to that film and a lot of strength throughout. So that's my pick there.
Nice. For me, anybody who has seen Black Widow knows that Florence Pugh, she definitely had every right to be nominated for that role. She's brought a character out of absolutely nowhere, and all of a sudden I get a feeling this is going to be quite a big prominent feature in the MCU. And I was obsessed with Florence Pugh in this movie. She absolutely stole it. I know it's not the historical movie you'd expect to get nominated for Best Supporting Actress, but talent's talent. Doesn't matter where it lands. So that's my pick.
Yeah, good.
Best Supporting Actor. We've got Kieran Hines, Belfast. Troy Kotzer, Coda. Jesse Plemons, Power of the Dog. J.K. Simmons, Being the Ricardos. Cody Smith McPhee, Power of the Dog, just to make sure we have 4 Power of the Dog actors nominated in a movie where there's probably not many more than 4 speaking roles. So it's a testament. What do you reckon, Jesse?
Jesse. So Jesse Plemons is Jesse Plemons. J.K. Simmons is J.K. Simmons. Belfast, it's Belfast. So the only 2 here that I really want to talk about is Cody Smith McPhee, who had that early buzz and is so deserving of an award. But I think he's at that age where he's a little bit too young, which is really unfortunate because he does such a good job in this role in this film. He adds so much. I guess it's really hard. I don't even know how to put it in words, but without his actions throughout the film, the payoff doesn't work. So on reflection, you go back and look and go, the performance from this kid is actually exceptional. But in saying that, the clear favorite obviously is Troy Kotzer from Coda, and deservedly so. Like that, I think my thoughts after watching Coda were that dad made me a bubbling mess. I was like crying everywhere. So to get the tears from a performance, and a performance that is a performance that you don't usually see on the screen from a deaf actor. So credit where credit's due. I think the tables have turned a bit, and this is his to lose.
I can't split them. Like the other three, as you said, are just making up the numbers. Everything you said about Cody Smith McPhee is true. Like he kind of is the twist of the film, and he has to get everything right to make it that way. And you have to be able to believe it, and you have to be able to believe it on reflection, not at the time. Like it's almost the perfect performance. And everything you said about Troy Kotzer is exactly the same as me. Like, how could you not watch that? Like, this is the toughest one for me, because we're going to end the day with, I'm so glad that one of these guys won it, and man, it sucks that one of these guys didn't win it, because they were both absolutely phenomenal. I don't know why I'm giving it to Cody McPhee, and I think I'm kind of glad that you gave it to Troy Kotzer then, because we could split it. Because I just can't split it. But in fact, they're very different. Like Troy Kotzer being like the absolute heartbeat of an incredibly, emotionally uplifting film, and Cody McPhee being, the through line of a brilliant tale with a great twist. Like they do very different things, but neither of them put a foot wrong. Just wonderful. I don't know who you'd want to put into that category. Whoever it is isn't going to win it, but who would you slip in there?
I was contemplating. I was like, Jonah Hill from Don't Look Up. Like, I really enjoyed that performance, just in the context of that film. But I'm going to go with a bit of a way out there one from the 2021 film Candyman. The character of William. So I don't know if anyone's even seen this film, but William Burke is played by Coleman Domingo. Very, very important character in the film. Doesn't have an awful lot of screen time, but without him, this film doesn't work. And the transition of his character, try not to spoil stuff because I know you want to see this film. The transition of his character throughout the film is exceptionally done, and that's where I'll leave it up.
Nice. Yeah, look, I have two. On one of them, I do quickly want to mention Anthony LaPaglia in Nitram. It was a very subtle performance, but incredibly well done. Again, we've got this very complicated story about some pretty severe mental health, and as an Australian audience, everyone's watching this movie knowing the devastating finale that's coming, and you see this father figure that you kind of get. He's not doing the wrong thing, but he's trying to do the right thing for his son. He's absolutely defeated. I thought he was great in a really subtle, small sort of way, and I just want to give him a little shout out. I think my official pick would be Robin De Jesus from Tick Tick Boom, who's Andrew Garfield's best friend, and I found I connected to him throughout the entire movie. We're following one man's story basically, and this is almost like the sub story of the movie that ties into the main story, and he just brings so much to every scene that he's in, so much power and that emotional presence he has with some really big issues. I thought it was brilliant. If I've seen him before, I hadn't noticed him before, and I was just watching him thinking, this guy should get nominated. During that whole film, I was like, this is your man. So I thought he was great.
Lovely. All right, we've still got a few categories to go, but I'm saying we're probably going to be a bit quicker through these ones. So
yeah, because we'll touch on these ones at the end anyway. But original screenplay, Belfast, Don't Look Up, King Richard, Licorice Pizza, The Worst Person in the World. What's going to win it for you?
Haven't seen The Worst Person in the World, so that's the one that I have to scrub out and have no context with. King Richard is just your generic adaptation of a feel-good story. It's not an adaptation, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, know what I mean. Don't Look Up was good for what it was. Belfast, again, it's the same generic sort of thing. So I've got to go with Licorice Pizza for this because of Paul Thomas Anderson's ability to put characters in situations, and it was a hang movie really, and it's almost like a Tarantino-esque sort of film where they're little vignettes almost that all come together to give you a context over that time, and I think that screenplay worked really well.
That's my vote as well, Jesse. He just this ability to be able to create this world that you want to be in and you want to hang out in. It's not an easy job, and he probably does it as good as anybody, Paul Thomas Anderson. Anything that you'd want to pop in there into that category?
I'd chuck in Malcolm and Marie, which was a absolute bomb off Netflix. I loved that film. And it was literally a COVID film where Zendaya and Chris Washington were literally in a house together. It's those two characters, that was it. And it was just about their relationship, and some of the lines and the dialogue and the performances between the two. That was an excellent narrative for me.
I haven't meant to check that out ever since you've raved about it. My choice is controversial here because are we calling Inside by Bo Burnham a movie? I think it's grey. But I am calling it a movie. I think it's got enough components of a movie. And if that's the case, I think it is one of the best original screenplays of the year, screenplay being a loose term. But I was obsessed with that. It was one of the best things I watched in 2021. If you're not allowing me to do that, my vote is going to be for Swan Song, which is written and directed by Benjamin Cleary, Mahershala Ali. Really good movie, really good premise. Yeah.
He's a
yeah, give it a look.
As is about 1,000 other movies.
Yeah, you've got a lot. Coda, Drive My Car, June, The Lost Daughter, Power of the Dog.
I love June, but I don't think it should win in this category. I think that Drive My Car, I'm familiar with, what's the Japanese author's name? I can't remember his name. Anyway, I'm familiar with his work as well, and I think that was excellent. I'm just going to skip through. I think Coda should definitely win this for. I think is it based on a French film? Is it adapted?
I didn't actually know. I didn't even know until we did this that it was adapted.
Yeah, it's adapted. I think it's from a French speaking language. It might be from Belgium, and I'm pretty sure it's an adaptation of another film where they've changed it to an American setting. So I think that film works really, really well.
That's fair. I can't vote for it because I gave the director credit because I thought the screenplay probably didn't jump off the page as well as her direction. So I'm going to go for Power of the Dog here and be a little bit boring, probably for all the reasons that we've talked about Power of the Dog so far. And my pick that wasn't nominated was Tick, Tick, Boom. And I was actually disappointed it wasn't nominated because I thought it was a great adapted screenplay.
I'm going to go with another Lin-Manuel Miranda film anyway, In the Heights. So the adaptation of his own musical that he did. I loved that musical and thought it was excellent, and I think that that worked really well for me.
All right, last category before we jump into Best Picture. Animated feature. Encanto, Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon. Interesting
selection here. So I haven't seen Flea. I'm not sure if you've seen Flea.
Neither have I. No.
Okay, I think that's nominated for Best International Film as well as Best Documentary. So 3 nominations. Yeah. So that's a pretty big feat to be able to make it across all of those. So well done. I've seen all the others. Have you seen all the others?
I haven't seen Luca.
Haven't seen Luca. Okay. So I mean the buzz that you can't get past is Encanto and how big that's sort of been the last 6 months or so. It's pretty much like it didn't do very well at cinemas, and then it hit Disney Plus, and it's sort of got this following a bit like the Frozen song sort of did, and obviously the We Don't Talk About Bruno song that's topped the charts around the world, which is a huge surprise because to me that song's probably like the 4th best song in that film, and I completely understand why it wasn't put forward to be nominated for best song at the Oscars because it's not the best song in that film. So it's nice. I think I hear that there's possibly going to be a performance of it during the broadcast, which I
did hear that.
Will sort of get a few more eyeballs on the screen, I guess. I think Mitchells and the Machine was a great original idea, but for me, and Raya was a great film, but for me, Luca is the one that I would have picked to win this because to me, Luca out of all these films is the one with the most heart, the one that made me cry, and the one that just the location and the settings, even though it's 100% a fictional imaginative sort of world that wouldn't happen in real life. The parallels of friendship and just being human it's such a beautiful film. So Luca for me, even though I know it's not going to win.
Oh God, now I have to watch it. I didn't realize it was chock full of heart. That's my
mate.
kryptonite.
Oh.
Look, the Encanto stuff, I thought Encanto was good. I thought the songs were pretty good. That was it. I'm surprised by the buzz. For me, this was really close between Mitchell's versus the Machines and Raya and the Last Dragon. I really enjoyed Raya and the Last Dragon. I loved the history of the Chinese culture and the dragons and the way that was brought to life. I thought it was excellent. But Mitchell's versus the Machines is one of the best movies I watched last year. That ability to make this a movie about understanding, in this case, your family and letting them be who they want to be and prosper that way. I thought it was fantastic. I couldn't believe how good this movie was. And yeah, I'm disappointed to see that Encanto paying $1.06 to take out this award, because I just don't think it's in the same category. And you know what? I haven't actually seen any other animated movies this year to put another thing in, unless you want to count Space Jam as animated, in which case I still don't really want to put it in there.
They're the same. So the Space Jam and Clifford the Big Red Dog have got some animation in it that I've seen. The only other two that I could think of that I've seen was Vivo, which is a musical animated film by Lin-Manuel Miranda as well. That it was a Sony film that Netflix took over for a bit, and it's about a bird trying to get to a concert. I guess the best way of putting it. That wasn't bad. And the other one that I saw was Boss Baby 2, and neither of them are going to get a mention in with these.
All right, let's get to the big stuff. Before we go, we'll talk through our top 10 in order, go from 10 to 1. Jesse, I just want to ask you a question, because I do see you log things on Letterboxd, and I've sort of seen you log these 10 films as they've come through, and I just recall seeing some really high ratings. Would you say this is like a bumper pack of 10 movies for you? Yeah,
I think everything out of 5 I've given 4 or more for these 10 films. So some really good films this year, which is great. Yeah, which is really good. Yeah, but I mean, if movies like Spencer had made it in there, then that's going to throw it all out, because that was not good.
It didn't make it, did it? Yeah. So what's number 10 for you?
Number 10 for me is King Richard. I think while Will Smith's performance is fantastic, I think, and he made, to me, what was a pretty unlikable story likable. And that's just me based on the story and my enjoyment in it. But I still thought it was an excellent film, really well done, had lots of heart, and enjoyed the moments of the recreations of the tennis matches. But at the same time, to me, that's right at the bottom.
That's fair. I kind of got it in 3 tiers. I've got like the bottom 3 for me were films that didn't really connect with. And then the next 3 are probably like, yeah, they were pretty good. I liked them. They were pretty good. And the next 4, really, really enjoyed them. So number 10 for me is West Side Story. The only movie that really didn't hit the mark for me. I'm coming from a position where I don't know the original, so I'm judging it from a story perspective as well as a adaptation perspective, I suppose. So there's probably some things that I've missed there. I just never connected with it. I never cared for any of the characters. I still can't understand the logic of meeting someone and then 2 nights later finding out that person kills your brother, but you still love him. Like, that doesn't work for me. And I love a love story as much as anybody, but West Side Story is number 10 for me. I'll go with 9.
Yep.
Number 9, again, June didn't really work for me either, coming in fresh. I didn't mind it, and I think I can see myself getting into the overall series of it, but it felt to me like a 2.5-hour prologue trying to set up this world, which they did well. I think they did it well, but I don't think that means it's the best movie of the year. So,
yeah.
What do you have at 9?
In at 9, I've got Belfast. I think, and this is probably just me comparing my love for Roma. I thought Roma was such an excellent, excellent film, and not taking away from Belfast's creative choices in going in black and white, and the color scenes are through the eyes of the child generally through the cinema. And I know this is a real personal story for Kenneth Branagh, and I think it's great that he made this film. I think they during lockdown they literally had an airport runway that they just built the sets on, and they were able to make this film, which is such a good story. And I've listened to lots of interviews with the cast and with him, and it's hard when you make a film through the eyes of a child. And I had this issue with The Boy in the Striped Pajama, where it's really like what's going on in Belfast, and it might be connecting a lot now with what's going on in Ukraine and with Russia, the idea of conflict and civil unrest. But to me, I like this film. I still like this film. Just I think in comparison to Roma, that's why it sits so low for me.
Yeah, that's fair. What do you got at number 8?
Number 8, I've got Don't Look Up. I feel it was a great commentary. It was probably a little bit overlong and a little bit padded out. And I completely understand why there's a lot of hatred for this film, because it's a very niche sort of comedy or niche sort of commentary that you've got to be in on it to enjoy it. And if you're not in on it straight away, then you're going to sit through that and go, "That's the worst 2.5 hours of my life." But I thought it was a really great commentary on society, where we're at, and the ability that even though it wasn't made around COVID, it's made around like climate change and global warming. Just the parallels that you can take in with other world topics. I really appreciated that.
I have Don't Look Up at number 8 as well. And I don't think I disliked the movie as much as I was disappointed as what I was hoping for it to be. And I think you kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit. For me, I was so in and out of this movie. All of a sudden, there'd be a 10-minute sequence where I'd be like, what the hell? This movie has just changed its tone completely. And I kept getting lost, and I'd be looking at my wife and I'd be like, what the hell? What's going on here? So, and then it wins you back, but then it goes off again. It was just a little bit all over the place for me. So number 8 is Don't Look Up. And to be honest, number 7 is Belfast, for almost the exact same reasons as you. I liked it. I thought Belfast was good. I don't think it was incredible. I maybe didn't connect with it as much as other people. I went to the cinemas to see it, and I think the average age was about 77 years old. So maybe not necessarily for me, but I thought it was good without being great. What do you got at number 7?
I've got West Side Story in here. So it already appeared on your list. I did enjoy this film. I had the context of the story. I think when I was in high school, our high school put the play on with our sister school. And so I knew the story quite well. I know the songs fairly well. I've seen the original film. I think I really thought that the costumes and the choreography in this were amazing. And the way that Spielberg used that camera to get as much of that in as possible while moving it and keeping that flow going, I thought was excellent. And the themes and the ideas in it, and I mentioned this privately to you in a chat, I think last night or something, that to me that the topics are like gun violence and racial divisions and gentrification, and these ideas that from a 60s playbook are still so relevant. And I appreciated the way that they were adapted into making it relevant for today.
Sadly, they definitely are.
Yeah.
What was that? Was that your number 6?
That was 7. So it's my turn for 6.
So 6, yeah.
6 for me is Dune. So I saw Dune with you at the cinemas. So we saw Dune together, and I thought it was visually stunning. I mean, I had pretty high expectations based on my knowledge of the 80s version of it, where I think the first half of that was great. The second half was a mess. So there's lots of I've got lots of hope and faith in Denis Villeneuve to continue this story into the second part and do it justice. And to me, I just watching that in a cinema, I don't think there's any other way that you could have seen that film. And to me, that justifies it being nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Look, number 6 for me is King Richard. And again, I think I've already spoken about it and you've sort of covered it as well. It's a good movie. It's not a great movie. Didn't jump off the page. Fair to say, I thought the tennis was actually really good in it. It's always difficult to get sport in a film and make it look good. And the tennis did look really good. So, I enjoyed it. But number 5 for me, which I was tossing up between these two for 5 and 6, is Nightmare Alley. I enjoyed Nightmare Alley. I thought it was a wonderful tone. I thought they captured and created this world. It looked beautiful. I thought the first half of the film was really engaging. I almost would have rather see a whole film in the carnival, really dark carnival. I really enjoyed that. the story just kind of got a little bit lost to me in the back half. I kind of drifted off a little bit and wasn't overly satisfied with the ending. But it's a good film. It's a good film. That's why it's number 5 on my list.
Cool. I've going to my 5. I've got Licorice Pizza, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I think that it's a great film that deserves a rewatch, probably multiple rewatches. And I mentioned before, it's just got that vibe of a Tarantino film, and the idea of running in this, I really, really enjoyed, especially towards the end, the bringing together of these two characters. I think Paul Thomas Anderson is just so good at what he does, and it's hard not to acknowledge that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. We're into the top 4 now.
Yeah, so that leads me into number 4, which for me is Nightmare Alley. I really love this film. It was so much better than I thought. I thought Bradley Cooper was great. I get Cate Blanchett's character was pretty polarizing, but it just had so much under the surface that I think it's been a little bit underappreciated this award season. And I think I definitely want to rewatch. I want to see it again, just to pick up on all these little themes and ideas throughout, which they're not an easy thing to put into a film and make them connect when you get to that end. And that final scene, I'm not going to spoil it, but that final scene just brought it all around for me. So yeah, that's what I've got 4.
That's great. And at 4 for me, I've got Licorice Pizza, which means we've got the same top 3, and we don't know the order yet. But Licorice Pizza, I loved it. So as I said, my top 4, loved all these movies. Hard to separate them. Just enjoyed hanging out with these characters. Enjoyed the fact that someone wants to make a movie about those moments, and it's what it is. It doesn't have to be more than that. I thought it was beautiful. It was such a great experience watching this movie. But now we go to the top 3, and they're 3 really, really good films. And number 3 for me, I've already talked about it enough, so I'm just going to say it. It's Power of the Dog. Loved it. I'm more than happy for Power of the Dog to win the Oscar, but it's number 3 for me. No more to say. What's number 3 for you?
Exactly the same for me, and I agree. I think it's going to win, and well worthy of a winner. I think this film is worth it for that twist. So I haven't rewatched it, but it's probably going to be worth a rewatch to see if it's as impactful the second time around. Yeah. All right. Top 2. So 2
wow, this is nuts. I wasn't expecting this.
2 for me is Coda. I really enjoyed this film. This film to me felt so real. It was like watching a real family and their struggles. And if you can put performances on screen that make you feel like you are actually watching real life, then there's not much more you can do with a film. And like I mentioned before, the performance, the dad in this film is just exceptional. Like, just so heartwarming to watch this film. Top notch. And I think with the preferential, so all the other awards that we've covered are just ballot, whereas this one, the best picture is preferential. So as you go down, you knock films out, and then they take the votes for the next one up, etc. So that's its one chance to get best picture at the Oscars, I think.
It's still a chance. Coda's paying $2.10 at the moment to Power of the Dog's $1.72. That's tight. That is tight.
That's a lot closer than I thought.
Number 2 for me, and geez, I could barely split them, but I'm glad I've done it this way because they're a little bit different. Number 2 is Drive My Car, and I loved it, man. I want to watch this movie again. I went and saw it in the cinema. I sat there for 3 hours. It didn't feel anything like 3 hours, and I just, you know what? This movie goes for 45 minutes, and then the opening credits come, and I'm like, that is the coolest thing I've ever seen. It was so cool. Okay, there's your 45-minute start. Off we go. There's so much about this film that I just loved, and I want to watch it again and dissect it. It was amazing. But the reason I've given Coda number 1, and this is purely because this is just how I am, is it hit me emotionally like very few movies have done in the past, and that means a lot to me when I'm watching a movie. I was similar to you. I was a blubbering mess for all the right reasons at the end of this film. And what a wonderful way to leave a movie. That's exactly how you want to feel. I know when I watched Coda, you'd already seen it, and I was so tempted to message you for like a day. I just want to say, like, Jesse, tell me one reason why this isn't a 5-star movie. And and that's still how I feel about it. I very rarely give a movie 5 stars after one watch. I find it very difficult to. But both Drive My Car and Coda, after watching them, like, I'm sorry, they're both 5-star movies. Loved them both. And Coda was brilliant, but your number 1 was Drive My
Car, obviously. So yeah, this film just lingers, and like I said, the long run time, it doesn't matter. It does not matter one little bit, because this idea of confrontation that you're going to get that you don't get, it's not. It's so subtle, this film, that the layers upon layers, like you mentioned, it's definitely worth a rewatch at some stage. And I think I messaged you after you'd seen it. I was like, I know what a lamprey is now after seeing this film. So it's educational as well. But yeah, it's a great film. It's not going to win Best Picture, but that's my best film out of these 10.
Paying $67 for the Best Picture. So every year. So my birthday's in June. So birthday June, Christmas is obviously in December. So I've got like my 6-month gaps for presents, and every birthday and Christmas I always ask for one Blu-ray or DVD. And Christmas is normally like, what was my favorite movie that year? I got to own it, and I am already hanging out to get Drive My Car on Blu-ray. It's all lined up there for me for June. I can't wait to watch it again.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to touch on? Any other things about the award ceremony or anything you wanted to add in?
Not really, mate. It's great to actually chat about it and get your thoughts. And now I'm looking forward to just tucking into it. I've actually got the day off work on Monday to watch it. Nice. Not to watch it. I've got a day off work for another reason. It's aligned perfectly. Because in Australia, it's like 11 a.m. when we watch it. So normally I got to turn like phone off and stuff and then watch it at nighttime. But I'm going to watch it live, and I can't wait. How about you?
Good news. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the day. I think June is probably, I think, in the box seat to win 6 Academy Awards. So I think
that's going to win a lot. Yeah, I saw that.
So I reckon that's like just something to take away, that it's probably, that's might win the most Oscars out of any film at the awards. And that's an interesting thing. I think
no categories that we spoke about today.
No, none that we spoke about. And I think the only other thing there's a short film called The Long Goodbye, which is directed by Riz Ahmed, who was nominated last year, was in Nightcrawler, great actor. And if you haven't, check that short film out, or the music video clip, if you can, if you're interested in just finding an accessible short film, because it's worth the watch.
Oh, good heads up.
Cool. Well, it's been, like you mentioned, it's been a pleasure. It's been great. It's been good fun to do something a little bit different and sort of just chat about our movie going experience over the last few months. So as always, thank you. We're on social media. If you want to let us know any of your predictions, feel free to. We're back normally for a normal episode, as always, on a Wednesday. Got over 200 episodes, so there'll be something that you probably have seen somewhere. So jump on, give us a search, and thank you, MJ, for a great chat.
Thank you, mate. I had a lot of fun. I've been hanging out to chat to you about this all week, so glad we got it done. And now let's bring on the Academy Awards.
Sounds good. All right, enjoy, and best of luck to everyone.
That's it. See you next time.